Every day, you and I get bombarded with negative news. And just like our bodies becomes what we eat, our minds become the information that we consume. If you want to stay positive, it's so important that you also listen to stories that inspires you and uplifts you. In this podcast, we interview world-leading experts dedicated to solving the world's most pressing problems. And if you stick around, I promise you will not only be as informed as if you watch the news, you will feel uplifted, inspired, and have more positive energy in your life. Welcome to Great.com Talks with. Hi and welcome. Today, Great.com talks with Janine Celenti, who is the Executive Director for the Diabetes Foundation. And we're also talking with Danielle Kennedy, who is the Diabetes Education Lead for the Diabetes Foundation. And if you haven't heard of them before, they are a foundation that provides direct services to the New Jersey children, adults, and families who are living with diabetes. And if you haven't done so before, you definitely want to press subscribe, either on YouTube or in your podcast app, because today we're going to learn how we can make life better for those families. So, hey guys, thank you for your time and welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you so much for inviting us.
Thanks for having us.
It's our pleasure. So, Janine, how would you describe the Diabetes Foundation to someone that is not familiar with your organization and the work that you do?
So the Diabetes Foundation is the only diabetes care nonprofit organization in the state of New Jersey providing free resources for children and adults who are living with diabetes. We were founded 31 years ago, and our entire mission is to help people who are in need of care. We provide our own services via financial services, free medication, free insulin, free injectables, free oral medication, free transportation and A1C screenings and all things related to diabetes to make sure you're managing your care. And we also do provide free programs, including education, diabetes education, as well as support services where we have communities of people gather and talk about the challenges of living with diabetes. We, in addition to that, have a whole other arm which guides people to other resources in the community that they can use to manage their diabetes. Diabetes is a hard, complex disease. It's every day. It's hard to manage, and we are dedicated to making sure that people can stay on track and get on track with their diabetes care.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for doing all of that wonderful work. And I will direct the word to Danielle here and say, so part of what you do is education then. So what do you wish more people knew about diabetes? Maybe the risk, or where would you like to see more awareness?
I think in the preventative early stages of prediabetes, I think that would be the area where I would really love for people to be more informed about how diabetes is a chronic disease that has a plethora of complications that are something that can be life-threatening and certainly can impact their livelihood and their lives significantly. And so I would love for people to get an early start on their diabetes from, pre-diabetes diagnosis to early stages of type 2. Obviously there's also, there's a couple different forms of diabetes. There's also type 1 diabetes, which is an autoimmune disease. And, that is usually something that is found earlier in life and sometimes not. But the earlier that we intervene and we educate, the less likely their complications are to impact their lives as strongly as they can down the line.
And what is it important that people know so they can detect this disease earlier? Is it to go to screening? Is it to get educated, change the diet? Right. What could it be?
Yep. So you wouldn't know about diet changes or you wouldn't really necessarily focus on that unless you understood that diabetes needs to be something that is checked for regularly. So just going to your primary care physician and asking for a screen of your A1C. As we age, our risk goes up for diabetes type 2. But early, with type 1, it can be at any time. So a lot of times just looking for symptoms that might occur, such as, frequent thirst, frequent urination. Some symptoms are tough to diagnose, like fatigue or I don't know, some people have experience of like lots of hunger. But we just general awareness that after the age of 40, your risk goes up. And as we age, the risk of type 2 goes up even more. There's also a relationship to obesity, which is obviously a big epidemic as well. And with the obesity rates soaring, diabetes type 2 is a higher risk as well. So just having an awareness of what can be a symptom of diabetes with type 1 or type 2, and just being aware that you need to go to your doctor regularly to screen for things like diabetes. Janine, do you want to add to anything with that?
I think the interesting statistic is that 36% of individuals living across the United States are living with prediabetes, but 9 out of 10 don't know they have it. And that's it just shows that the epidemic is at its tipping point, and it really speaks to the notion of go get screened, go to your doctor, get an A1C test, and learn where you are so that you can either start to eat differently or do things to help yourself not get to the diabetes stage, or care for yourself so you reduce or delay your risk of complications.
And then, of course, like once you do have a diagnosis, I want people to know that there is a lot of help out there. Education is key, and being able to do that early education and take care of your diabetes, whether it's prediabetes type 2 or type 1, and try to attack it from all the different areas that we talk about, which there are many areas that education provides for patients. And, it goes from understanding medication, understanding how your diet impacts you or your nutrition piece, exercise or physical activity, stress and managing your stress levels, because stress has an impact on diabetes, understanding a little bit about the complications, because if you have type 2 or type 1, knowing what those complications are is a piece of this, because it's important to understand how much it can impact your body. And then also understanding that there are things like monitoring on a regular basis, not just yearly, but if you are diagnosed, there's ways of monitoring on a regular basis to help yourself so that you can have a better handle on your diabetes.
You can reduce your risk just by virtue of understanding how to manage diabetes. And that's what we as the Diabetes Foundation are hoping to get out there. There is hope, there is help. You just need to take it and use the information to your benefit.
Thank you, Janine. That is the response I was feeling inside of me as well, that you're presenting awareness in a way that there are actually a lot of things that I can do here, even if I'm at this pre-diabetic stage, or
Absolutely.
I have even been diagnosed. That it doesn't mean that it's just a curse. There's something that I can do. So yeah, thank you for spreading a light on that. And I'm curious to Janine, you mentioned that you've been around for 30 years. And during that time, have you seen, what has been the trend? Have you seen an increase in the cases? And where are we moving now? Are we moving towards more cases, or is it going down? What is happening?
So first of all, thank you for saying I've personally been around for 30 years, because it's been a little bit longer than that. But the Diabetes Foundation, yes, 31 years old. Diabetes, the trajectory is that it's growing. I mean, 1 in 10 individuals are living with diabetes. 36% of individuals are living with prediabetes. The CDC has projected that by 2050, 3 out of 5 people will have diabetes. And the fear now with everyone in public health is that because we were all quarantined, and because we were all people dealt with that in different ways. Some people got more active, and some people ate more carbohydrates. And the fear is that because we weren't going to doctors, and because we changed and altered our lifestyle, is now that we're going back to life as the way it was, that there's going to be the incidence is going to spike over the next few months.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's harder to keep up with exercise and moving, and that makes you a little bit more sluggish, and then you might eat a little bit more sugar, and it easily becomes this downward spiral. So what can someone do then that is in that downward spiral? Where do they start?
First thing,
go ahead.
Danielle. No,
Okay.
go ahead.
I would say again, the first thing is to make sure that they know where their numbers are. So if they are someone who maybe is gaining weight, is eating a lot more than they used to, and they've noticed that weight gain and those habit changes, you could see a dietitian to start if you needed to, but make sure you get screened. If you have a family history, be aware that diabetes is actually really strongly related to family history and prevalence based on race as well. So you can get information from, the Diabetes Foundation has a lot of really good information about, diagnosis. There's also the American Diabetes Association. We have these tools out there to tell us a lot about diabetes and what it is and where it comes from. And then beyond that, then maybe starting with seeing that dietitian and getting some help with how do I focus on weight loss, or how do I focus on changing one behavior at a time? So I always recommend less is more as far as, goal setting. So, using what we call SMART goals, which is set as a time sensitive goal setting. And it, helps us to set realistic goals so that we can make changes incrementally.
That seems like a smart plan. And when I read about your diet recommendations on your website, I see that you're asking people questions. What do you like? What don't you like? What is part of your cultural identity? What is part of your schedule? And I like that approach of trying to fit it to the individual and what their needs are.
The important piece of, I'm also a dietitian, and the important piece of understanding food and people is really getting to know the person that you're talking with and really meeting them where they're at. And so if you're having a hard time, there are a lot of resources and there's a lot of education out there. But try to find somebody who, it's kind of like meeting a therapist, meet somebody who might help you. We have classes at the Diabetes Foundation that I teach as well. So if you do have type 1, type 2 prediabetes, they're free, and you can sign up for classes, and, we can help you through that, with a group setting, which can help with making people feel that they're not alone. So if you do have diabetes and it's gone that far, there is another way of not just doing one-to-ones with a dietitian, but actually seeing a diabetes educator as well in a group setting.
I can imagine that feeling of community is so important when someone is going through something difficult and maybe get a diagnosis that would be, feel like traumatic or like a setback in their lives. So I guess that is an important part of the work that you guys are doing as well, right?
Absolutely.
That. Yeah, we hear that from our participants all the time across all of our programs. Danielle, as she was saying, runs a diabetes self-management education and support program, and she has about 15 people online every week for 2 hours, and they talk about different aspects of diabetes care. And one of the core outcomes is that they feel connected and they feel like there's hope and they feel like they now have better control. And that's what we're trying to do at the Diabetes Foundation, is offer that sense that you are not alone. You may be the only one in your family or in your school, but you are not alone. There is a large community out there, and the community is here and waiting to help you.
And then we're also offering support groups, right, Janine? So there's the support group aspect. In fact, last night I taught a class, and one of the participants was talking about how she didn't, I guess someone had mentioned that he had a great support with his wife, who helps cook for him, helps encourage him to exercise, and really try to check all those boxes to support himself and help with his diabetes management. And then this other woman, spoke up and said, I don't have that. And I really struggle with staying on, in charge of my own health and taking that initiative and being motivated. And she mentioned that community and support groups would be really helpful, but she found that the group setting in the class and just hearing from others really helped her as well. So, with diabetes and the group setting, the education piece has been proven, even if it's individual versus group setting, either one, your A1C can go down up to 2% based on just getting information and education and learning about how you can be empowered as a person. I think that's key as well, Neil, is that you need to feel empowered and motivated, but being motivated alone is tough. So a lot of times empowerment comes from education. And the more that we're informed, the more empowered we are to ask the right questions, do the little things that might make a difference every day with our blood sugar. And that's where the education piece really helps with, daily control.
Can really imagine that. And also being surrounded by people that also want to learn and be motivated, that improve and heal.
Right.
It gotta make a huge difference.
Absolutely.
So, Janine, what would you guys like to accomplish in the next 10 years?
We serve, over the past year, we've served 300% more people than we did the year prior. People are sitting up and they are taking charge of their health, and we have capacity to help more people. And what we're trying to do is grow in terms of the numbers that we are able to serve. So whether somebody needs guidance, someone needs support, somebody needs free insulin, we are a telephone call or a chat on our website away, and what we're trying to accomplish is to drive more individuals to our programs to use them.
All right. And what is in the way of that happening? Is it that people are not aware that you guys exist, or because if you are there?
There are, to answer your question, yes, people do not know some of the programs that exist. There is also a lot of many programs out there in the community. It's finding the one that works best for you. So if you are uninsured or underinsured, if you are living throughout the state of New Jersey or beyond, we are actually have served people in other countries who have reached out to us through Facebook and other social media. If you are looking for things that are virtual, come to us. We collaborate with healthcare professionals throughout the state, amazing people like Danielle and people from the major hospitals across the state to provide services. We're a high quality organization, and and everything is for free. So if that is what your need is, if you're a children or an adult, then please come to us, and we either will help you or find you a resource that can help you.
I would also I'm sorry.
Yeah, you go, Daniel.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say, I'd also venture to say one of the barriers could also be the awareness of that diabetes is a chronic disease. A lot of times there's denial involved. And when you're first diagnosed, and we ignore the signs, we don't understand how much it can impact your life if it is ignored, and it's not just going to go away. So again, it's early information. And I think that's a barrier, that people don't always know how serious it is when they're diagnosed. So getting that word out there and letting people know that it is lifelong, that we can manage it, and that you do need to help yourself through it. I think that's a big one.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I can see how denial, when something is that life-changing, that can seem like a reasonable option for people.
Yes,
so
yes.
Thank you for spreading that awareness. And Janine, I got a warm feeling of gratefulness in my chest when you spoke about, we're here to serve people, even if it's someone from another country. I got a warm feeling when you shared that. Right, so we're coming towards the end of this conversation now. And I have one final question, and that is, if someone is listening to this interview, we've spoken about many things, everything from getting checked up to think about your diet and exercise to getting informed so you stay out of denial. But if someone is listening to this and they want to help out somehow to make the world better for those with diabetes, what is like the one action step that you would like for them to take? And ask Janine.
I would say share news that we exist. Let people know, whether it's someone that needs services or someone who wants to make a contribution to donate to diabetes services, or someone who wants to volunteer. We are here, and we are working to help the expanded numbers of people who are being diagnosed, and any support that you can give, either having people to come to us for care or getting involved from a volunteer or giving aspect, would be amazing.
Yeah. Beautiful. And Danielle, do you have any last
I would
words?
Just I would just piggyback on what Janine said, spreading the word. We really want people to know that there are ways to get help, and that we have a passion to support people. And all we want is for people to feel that empowerment and really feel that they're not alone. And whatever we can do to help, even hand holding them through it, that's what we're here for.
Guys, thank you so much for your time. I very much appreciate it. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. And I felt like I learned a lot today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Call us. We're always here to talk.
Yes, thanks so much.
Thank you. We hope you have a nice day.
Have a nice day.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. And for you listening, if you enjoyed this conversation, press subscribe either on YouTube or in your podcast app, because that will show the algorithms that this is an important conversation, so more people can hear about the importance of getting educated when it comes to diabetes. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode. What is Great.com? That is the most common question that we get. And the shortest answer I can give you is that we are a company that is moving money from the online casino industry and donates it to charities that is helping the environment. The long answer, unfortunately, I don't have time to tell you today. But if you're curious, definitely Google what is Great.com to learn more.